What if your thoughts were not truly yours? What if the voice inside your head, the one that speaks when you're alone, wasn't the you think it is? Carl Jung spent his life searching for that truth. He didn't want to just treat the mind. He wanted to understand what it is, and what he discovered was terrifying and divine. Born in 1875, Jung was trained in science, a doctor of the brain, a student of behavior. But what he found in his patients could not be measured by logic. He saw people haunted by dreams, obsessed by symbols, possessed by invisible forces, and he began to ask the question that would define the rest of his life. What if the human mind is not just a machine, but a universe? Jung believed that within each of us lives something vast. A collective intelligence, ancient and autonomous, that speaks through dreams, emotions, and coincidence. He called it the collective unconscious, the part of the psyche that remembers what humanity has forgotten. It is the library of myth, the language of gods, the echo of eternity in human form. But to reach that truth, Jung had to descend into darkness. Because the mind does not reveal its secrets to those who only analyze, it reveals them to those who surrender. In 1913, Jung had a vision. Oceans of blood covering Europe. He thought he was losing his sanity. Months later, World War I began. That moment broke him open. He realized that his visions were not madness. They were messages from where? From the unconscious. He began to write what would later be known as the Red Book, a record of his encounters with the world within. He met archetypes, figures of wisdom, temptation, and chaos. He faced the gods of his own psyche, and what he discovered there changed everything we know about the mind. Who looks outside dreams, he wrote. Who looks inside awakens. In the depths of his visions, Jung met Philemon, a wise old man with wings, the embodiment of the higher self. Philemon told him that thoughts are not personal. They are like birds passing through the sky of consciousness. To Jung, this was revelation. The mind is not yours. You are inside it. You are a fragment of a living, breathing intelligence that has existed since the dawn of time. He called the entities of that inner world archetypes. They are the fundamental patterns of existence. The hero, the mother, the shadow, the trickster. They live in every story, every religion, every culture, and in every person. When you dream of flight, the archetype of freedom moves through you. When you fall in love, the anima or animus awakens. When you fear your own power, the shadow speaks. Jung realized that the unconscious is not chaos, it is order disguised as mystery. It is the soil from which consciousness grows, and if you want to understand yourself, you must face what lies beneath. But here's the paradox. The deeper you go, the less control you have. The ego's, the ice, begins to dissolve. You meet voices that feel alien, dreams that feel prophetic, and emotions that belong to something far older than your life. That's why Jung called the journey inward a descent into the underworld. You must die to who you think you are to discover who you truly are. He said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. And he was right. Because awareness burns. To know yourself is to lose your illusions. The first step in Jung's path is confrontation. To look at your fear, your guilt, your anger, not as enemies but as guides. He called this the beginning of individuation, the process of becoming whole. It's not self-improvement, it's self-confrontation. You don't add, you integrate, you don't fix, you face. Because what you refuse to face controls you from the dark. And this brings us to Jung's second great discovery, the shadow. The shadow is everything about yourself that you deny, repress, or reject. It's the anger you suppress to appear kind, The jealousy you hide behind fake smiles, the desires you bury to seem pure. But the shadow doesn't disappear, it waits, and the more you repress it, the stronger it becomes. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your shadow doesn't just live inside you, it acts through you. It chooses your partners, your fears, your addictions, your failures. It's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to wake you up. Because what you hate in others is often what you cannot accept in yourself. Projection is the shadow's favorite trick. You project what you cannot face. You call others arrogant because you fear your own power. You call others selfish because you deny your own needs. You call others evil because you repress your own darkness. Every trigger is a mirror. Every irritation is an invitation. When you see this, your enemies become your teachers. Your pain becomes a path. But here's the paradox. The shadow is not just the dark. It's also your brilliance, your passion, your potential, the energy you locked away to survive. That's why Jung said the shadow is 90% pure gold. Inside every fear lives strength. Inside every shame lives freedom. Inside every rejection lives truth. He believed that to heal the mind you must integrate the shadow. Not destroy it, not escape it. Integrate it. He used an ancient art called active imagination, a dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious. He would enter a meditative state, visualize the figure that haunted him, and talk to it. He would write, ask questions, argue with demons, and listen to their wisdom. Because the shadow is not a monster. It's the part of you you've exiled. When you bring it back, you gain energy. When you deny it, you fragment. That's why people feel torn, because the psyche is trying to heal its divisions. Jung saw this everywhere, in dreams, in relationships, in society itself. The wars outside reflect the wars within. The corruption in leaders mirrors the greed in the collective unconscious. The chaos of the world is the psyche trying to evolve. Jung didn't just describe the mind, he described reality. Because to him, reality and psyche were two sides of one coin. He wrote, "Psyche and matter are contained in one and the same world." This is what led to his idea of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that link the inner and outer worlds. When you're aligned with your deeper self, the world mirrors that alignment. Dreams come true not through magic, but through resonance. Jung believed that symbols are the bridge between worlds. That's why religions, myths, and dreams use the same images: snakes, fire, light, rebirth. They are messages from the unconscious, coded in archetypal language. And when you understand that language, you don't just understand yourself. You understand humanity, because you and the world share the same soul. Beyond the shadow, Jung found something greater. A center of wholeness he called the self. The self is not your personality. It's the totality of who you are, the seen and unseen, the conscious and unconscious. It is the God within. Jung didn't mean that metaphorically. He believed that the self is the inner image of God, the spark of divine intelligence expressing itself through you. You are not separate from the sacred. You are its vessel. That's why every culture's myths speak of death and rebirth, because the ego must die so that the self can awaken. The process of individuation is that awakening. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming real. The more you face your darkness, the more light you generate. The more you surrender control, the more life flows through you. It's paradoxical, but all truth is. Jung saw the psyche as an alchemical furnace. Your suffering is the fire, your awareness is the crucible, and your transformation is the gold. That's why he studied alchemy obsessively. He realized that the ancient alchemists were never turning lead into gold. They were turning the lead of the soul, fear, guilt, ignorance, into the gold of consciousness. He wrote, "The gold you seek lies in the dark places of your own soul." To Jung, enlightenment wasn't escape, it was integration. He warned against spiritual bypassing, using light to avoid shadow, because true awakening is not about floating above pain, but walking through it and coming out whole. He believed humanity itself is evolving psychologically, that every crisis, war, greed, collapse, is the collective shadow rising to be healed. He said the future of the world depends on the individual who can face their own darkness. Because when one person becomes conscious, it shifts the field for everyone. The salvation of the world, Jung wrote, is found in the individual soul. Jung's message is both terrifying and liberating. You are not powerless, you are not broken. You are the experiment of the universe learning to know itself. Your dreams, your fears, your failures, they are not meaningless. They are the language of evolution. You are the bridge between heaven and earth and between the infinite and the intimate. And your mind is the doorway.